right? I think that's a really good example. We get entitled to everything very, very quickly, and I'll include myself.
Yeah. I think so just, I'll give you a number in Florida because I'm based in South Florida. If you're a family of 4 in South Florida, just for food stamps, right? Like EBT food, you can get $2,839 in food stamps if you're at the 130% of poverty. $2,800 a month.
Wow.
So
doesn't that run out after some point, or is that like forever?
So it didn't back in the day, but there was a huge change this last administration that you have a limited amount of time to be able to be on it or to be in Section 8. Or so what's interesting is there's some groups that have said, we'll just give as much as you want away, and there is no time limit. And then there's some groups that say we need to make a time limit because we want to be able to train people to be able to live their life, to be able to earn a life, to be able to grow. Yeah. So it's interesting to be able to see different perspectives. Different parties have different ideas. Some parties are cross-party. Obviously, but it's interesting in America because I believe this: if people are down and out, if they're having a hard challenge, if they're homeless, if they're been sex trafficked, if it's whatever, we need to protect people. Like straight up, we need to protect people. And I also believe that raising corporate tax and raising minimum wage with the whole economy isn't going to serve, like, because minimum wage, when they say like minimum wage, let's raise it, it's not for the farmers in Southern California on the farms. It's not for the servers at restaurants in Kentucky that are making $2 an hour.
Yeah. Well, I think where you and I agree is that we, people who are in real need should get some help, and we want to lean towards empowering them. So sometimes a handout isn't the most empowering thing. Sometimes it's like, for example, I could give free coaching to a whole bunch of clients. And I find that often when I do that, they don't get a lot of value from that. They don't listen to me. They don't go and put it into practice. So it's by someone having to actually earn it and go and find the money for it, put the money down on the table. They show up and they pay attention. So, and then, sometimes there are some nonprofits, or I go into prisons and we go and, train the inmates. And so you've got to find a balance. Let's empower people. And sometimes a handout's a good thing.
So I love that you go in and you add value without like asking for something in return, like prisons or something like that, because I find that people change. People lived a life. Like I was in jail when I was a kid, and today I'm a deputy sheriff. So it's interesting to be able to see what's possible. I do a reserve program. What I find,
you're saying you were in jail as a kid?
Yeah. I went to jail as a kid, and this is my badge.
And you're a deputy sheriff now. Wow. So that's possible. They're not going to hold it against you forever. You can actually.
Correct. Like I got into a fight, so it wasn't a felony charge.
You weren't convicted.
Yeah. I mean, I went to, I had I think it was a misdemeanor dropped to nothing, okay. Right?
Because I imagine there are some crimes where you cannot become a deputy sheriff, no matter what, no matter how long you live, right?
There are some crimes that you cannot become a deputy sheriff.
Yeah, I know things aren't very rosy for a lot of inmates. There's a lot of strikes against them when they get out. So I was like, whoa, what? That's cool,
right.
Man.
Right. And so what I find, like living, like when I'm on duty, and I do it through, different points throughout the year to add value. And I want to see, because I train a lot of law enforcement on how to love themselves, emotional belief intelligence. And
nice.
And what's interesting is I agree with giving to people that maybe, at some points. This last year in our school, we gave, I think we waived the initiation fee for all the parents because of COVID. We knew parents were going through it financially. So at the end of the day, if, just period, I'm like, well, you know what, we're going to lose like $50,000, but lose the 50 grand, add value to the families. And so I look for ways to, I agree with you 100%. I look for ways to give to people And at the same time, make sure people, I mean, the last thing I want is, a parent to feel guilty that they can't pay a $150 fee for their kid showing up to school. Like it'd be horrible. That's why we bought washers and dryers for the schools, so that we could have, if kids need to wash their clothes. And one of my employees 2 weeks ago, was like, "Hey, I've been using the washer." One of my own employees, because she doesn't have a washer at home. Like, I'm like, this is awesome.
Nice.
Like it's, and she gets paid good. You know what I'm saying? But she doesn't have a washer at home. She has to go somewhere. So I was like, this is even better that now we're using it internally for some of our team.
Yeah, nice.
What do you find with, why don't people focus? Because I know focus is a huge part of, what you do. And I find that there are so many things in this world. I think, let me back up. When I'm in India a couple of years ago with Dalai Lama, he talked about first world versus third world problems. First world, we had a lot of challenges. We have a lot of stuff, but we have a lot of mental challenges. In the third world, they don't have a lot of stuff, but they don't have as many mental health challenges. They have more focus on living every day and what they have to do to live. But we have so much. I mean, I order food now. We have baby here. I don't necessarily need to go to Publix or a store to get food. So I just go on the app and it comes, a few hours later. So I can actually focus on what I'm really good at, and what I want to spend my time doing versus what I don't want. What can people do? What's your thought around focus, number one? And then the second part is what can people do to become focused in what they really want?
So why don't we focus, and what can we do to focus is the question.
Yeah.
I just wrote down 3 reasons that came to me for why we don't focus. One is a lack of discipline. If you wake up and just start checking email and checking voicemail and, kids knocking at the door, and do whatever, and you just go with the flow, you'd be focused perhaps in the moment if you're lucky, but you're not going to be focused on a particular thing, and you may have no link to what you want to achieve a year from now. So lack of discipline, if you don't put deliberate attention, I think the default will be no focus. The second thing is entertainment. It's entertaining to be skipping from thing to thing. It's entertaining to be jumping through email. You get a dopamine hit every time an email goes off. You get a dopamine hit when you get a text message. And then you're trying to multitask and doing this, and you're on hold. And then like that can be really fun, producing dopamine and adrenaline, and that's entertaining. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You just want to be clear what you're doing. That this is about entertainment, and it's not about doubling your income or your revenue over the next 12 months or doubling your time off or whatever else you've set your goals to be. And the third one is FOMO, fear of missing out. So right now, I know it would be good for me to focus on one traffic source for my business. For example, perhaps doing podcasts like this one. I just do this. I love doing podcast interviews. But I have FOMO. What if Facebook ads could really work? I have a new 8-week program for people to double revenue. What if Facebook ads works really well for that? So we're testing that. Then I tested LinkedIn, and there's a company called Cleverly that does automated campaigns on LinkedIn. Oh my God, did I hate doing that? That's no fun for me, but I wanted to test it because what if that could be an amazing source and I'm missing out? Now, humans in general, we've got so many different options for pleasure, for entertainment, for feeding ourselves. It can be really overwhelming. Entrepreneurs and business owners in particular, I think it gets worse because we have 10 to 20 hats and we can see all the options and ideas and strategies. There are 5 different target markets we'd like to serve. There are 5 different problems we would like to solve. There are 5 different promises or benefits that we'd like to make, and 5 different products or services we'd like to create for them. That's before we even get to traffic sources and conversion tools. It's overwhelming and it's crazy. So my job is to help people work out, firstly, where are we heading? Where do you want to be a year from now? That's the first thing to focus, because that was the next part of your question. How do we focus? all right, number one, let's work out in 12 months from now what happy looks like. Then let's layer our goals. We've got to work backwards because it's not enough to have a 12-month goal. We've got to know 8 weeks from now, what could we bite off that would have us fully on track? Now, 8 weeks starts to get real. It's coming up really fast, but we still need to layer that. What will I do in the next 7 days? And this is obviously something we repeat weekly. Next 7 days, what am I going to do so that I achieve the 8-week goals? And then we layer it even again. What will I do tomorrow? When I wake up, what are the 2 things? If only I did 2 things, because obviously you've got 10 that you want to do, but if you only got to do 2, what would they be that would move the needle on your goals? Now, if you layer your goals like that, and then each week you have a date with yourself for 20 minutes so that you get to pick another cycle of 7-day goals. And the day before, when you finish work, you pick the 2 things you'll do the next day. If you just keep doing that, that's a game changer. That's going to put you ahead of 95% of the population. And you can finish each day saying, I actually worked on what I believe is going to move me towards what I really want.
So I heard that in the Dallas Brain Institute, they actually have science to back up those 2 things that you do every single day. And when you hear something twice, when I hear something twice, I'm like, okay, it makes complete sense. I love doing that, where I know what things I get to do and I put it on my calendar. So I'm definitely, there's no way I could run multiple schools and multiple companies without being focused. And shiny objects are a little bit of fun sometimes, like my kid coming up to the window back and forth, right? Which I enjoy. Like I enjoy, it's amazing.
But you choose, ideally you will choose when you're going to focus on your kid, and then you'll choose when you're going to focus. So I recommend to all of my clients that they book sprints into their calendar. Ideally 2 hours, for me works well, like a 2-hour chunk, say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, those are my sprints. Maybe Saturday afternoon, that's another sprint when I will turn off all distractions and I will look at my goals and I will pick what matters and I will only do that. It's actually a meditation. It's not easy to do, but you just keep practicing and coming back to this. I've got up in front of me, for anyone who's watching the video, and I'll describe it if we're not, these are my columns. I've got basically 4 up there. And over on the left is all the stuff I want to do, but it hasn't made it into this week because that's overwhelming. You can't put everything on your list. And then the next list is what I've chosen to do in the next 7 days. And I'll make sure not too much goes on there. That's really important. The next list is what I'm doing right now. And it's blank right now because I'm talking to you. And only one Post-it note can go in that now list. Only one. And then once it's done, I move it over to the right-hand side, which is the win column. Super, super simple. But I tell you what, my mind is always wanting to work out, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? I just look at my board. All right. And I feel some peace because I know what's next.
I really like that. I just got a new tablet I'm using one of the online platforms for the layout, and I'm looking at different platforms because we're going to build one into our own. I'm building an online school right now. So I was like, you know what, let me test out other platforms to see what works best. And I really love that. That's really cool. David, I know you have a gift for people. Can you tell them about that?
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, what would be most useful for listeners and something that's really easy to consume? So high value, easy to consume. So I've created a cheat sheet for you, the fastest way to double productivity and revenue. Little cheat sheets, 2 pages. I'll give you that. Also, there's a 6-minute video if you want to watch the video, which will show you how to implement those steps on the cheat sheet. And then the third thing, if you are a business owner, and there are like 2 or 3 things to qualify, I will do a 15-minute audit with you where we'll look at the low-hanging fruit in your business so you know where to focus first. Because your plan to double revenue isn't going to be the same as someone else's plan. And we can do that in 15 minutes. All 3 of those things are available at myfocusgift.com. How can you forget that?